I'm Stacy McDonald, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to share your story. This is a foundational part of referring your friends in starting a business, or just referring people on the side. Either way, I want to show you how easy it is to craft your story. When I first started with Young Living, I didn't realize the power of my story. That's why I sometimes referred to my business startup as kind of accidental. As a Christian homeschooler and a pastor's wife, I was used to the concept of giving a testimony. So it happened naturally in every area of my life. Whether it was sharing my faith or homeschooling or babies or recipes, whatever, I talked about life as it happened every day. Whether it was to the other women or on my blog, it just was part of who I was. So to me, natural health was just part of my journey, part of my ministry to women. And whatever I was passionate about, I talked about because, excitement's contagious. And so that's what winds up happening. So when I started having all these crazy, amazing experiences with essential oils, I did what I always did. I talked about it to other moms in my circles, and something amazing happened naturally. Women were begging to know more. They knew me. They knew I was real. They trusted me. They were my people. We were in each other's lives, and they wanted the products that they saw working for me in real time. They wanted to do the very best for their children because that was our passion, all of us as moms, right? And I found I didn't need perfect words or perfect graphics or videos. Seriously, you should see some of the embarrassing photos and cheesy video clips that I did with my kids back then. As I experienced success with an oil or a product, I just openly talk about my experience. I call that sharing out loud because if you keep it all to yourself, you're not serving other people. You're not helping them. You're keeping it for yourself, and that's not loving. Your success story doesn't even have to be some dramatic event. It just needs to be relatable. In fact, a lot of my story has been more of a stair step over the years. When my kids were little, it was more about detoxing and natural remedies, the whole Dr. Mom concept. Later, it was about nutrition and gut health and dealing with my own adrenal fatigue. Then it was emotional healing. That's when I wrote my book, Truth Drops, and really focused on, trauma and healing emotions. More recently, as I've gotten older, it's been about menopause and skincare, helping women to get their hormones under control. Your story will change, sharing it won't. It helps people to see themselves in your journey, right? It helps for people to see, okay, I can relate to that. It makes you relatable. They can connect with you that way. And it gives you a natural way to start conversations. Whether it's Facebook posts or texting a friend or meeting someone new, it gives you the confidence to feel like, okay, my thoughts are organized. I've planned for this. Now I can share it. And this is something you can practice. Once you craft your story and you get your thoughts organized, you can practice it. And then it's like secondhand to you. Remember, facts tell, but stories sell. Facts can feel really boring. You can wind up sounding either like a pushy sales guy or a boring professor. Facts are there to inform, but it's the stories that connect you with other people. It's what inspires them. Stories are relatable, they engage the heart. When you stir emotion, you build something memorable. People may forget details, but they'll remember how your story made them feel. And that's what inspires action. Now, we're going to break your story down into 5 simple parts, and that's kind of like your outline. So, first, you're going to start with your background. This is just a snapshot of who you are, your current situation. It could be your professional background if you want. I didn't really talk about my past as much. I mean, at one point I was a hairdresser, I managed departments, I did lots of different things. I wrote some books. I usually talk about having been a homeschool mom, a pastor's wife. That's who I was, and that's who my circle of friends was, who would best relate to me. So, number 2, what you found. Describe the challenge that you were facing. What was your challenge? How did you get there? What was it that made a difference? All those things, okay? Then you want to share the positive changes that you experienced after discovering Young Living. After that, you want to go to the part that excites you about the future. Personally, I like to add a little drama to this part, but that's just me. Emotion makes it memorable. Remember that. And then you put it all together. Say it like you're talking to a friend at the park. Learn to share your testimony in a very natural way. Don't make it sound so polished that it sounds like it's the intro to a book. You want it to sound like you in your voice. So what we're going to start with is a 90-second or so version. I mean, don't worry if it goes a little bit over on that. You're going to hone it down to a 30-second version, okay? So use the 5 steps to process and write your story. But here's kind of how I share mine. I discovered natural health back in 2001. Our 7th child was vaccine injured, which caused major behavioral changes and turned our entire world upside down. The ironic part was that while I was looking for natural ways to heal her, the dramatic results that our whole family experienced from this lifestyle were life-changing. I swapped out all the toxic cleaners I'd been using. I got rid of the most processed, almost all processed foods, and I got really into herbs and home remedies. When I first started dabbling in essential oils, I used them mostly for like DIY household concoctions, like natural air fresheners and cleaning supplies. I still had no idea how powerful they were or how many uses they had. But the more that I studied and the more testimonies that I started reading and hearing from other people, and the more that I started experimenting on my 10 kids, I call them my little guinea pigs because, your kids and your husband are probably going to be, that they're the ones you're going to practice on. And, oh, you have a cough. Let me go look this up. It's just what happens. Then I started seeing these crazy, amazing results. And that's when it started to become a passion for me, right? When you see something working for you and it's making a difference in your life, your natural response, especially if you love other people, is to tell them about it. You do that even when you find, something that you love at the grocery store or your favorite restaurant or an Airbnb that you thought was amazing. It's just natural to tell people about it. You need to try this. It's just what we do. And that's what happened with the oils. Over time, I saw major shifts in my daughter's behavior. I mean, it was just such a blessing. I can't even describe to you some of the challenges that come with autistic behavior. And I'm thankful that some of that is coming to light now. And her overall healing has taken time and it took a total lifestyle change for us. But she is now thriving. In fact, at 18 years old, she hit silver in Young Living, and she is now married in her mid-20s with 2 gorgeous children. And what felt tragic at the time for our daughter, God used to transform not only her, but our whole family. And I am just so grateful. And now we have a legacy to our grandchildren because our kids are using natural health in their own families and using Young Living in their own families. So now, if I wanted to add like a business portion to this, I could also say, my audience was filled with Christian homeschooling moms whose world was filled with family and children. This is who I related to. And so when I started talking about them to other people, that excitement is contagious and they started doing the same thing and my business exploded and this is what happened. That's an easy way just to kind of give somebody, a little interest in what you're doing. So your testimony can be specific to who you're talking to and also to what season of life you're in. Remember that. Okay, so did you see the 5 steps that I went through? I talked about being a homeschool mom, a pastor's wife. Then I talked about my daughter's vaccine injury. Then I talked about how it not only helped her, but it helped our whole family. Now I can talk about how now my kids are grown and they're passing on this legacy of wellness to our grandkids. That's always inspiring when it's a continuing effort, not to mention the people that I share it with. That's also part of that legacy. And then you put it down after you get all of that written out. And that's still a testimony, right? I mean, it's a little longer, but it's still something that you could talk to, over coffee with someone, or if you're in a longer conversation. But you also want a 30-second version that you can talk to on the fly. And so an easy way to do that is just to copy and paste that whole little blurb into Chat GPT and say, make this more concise. Give me a 30-second version of this. Make a 30-second script, however you want to word it. And Chat GPT will whittle it down for you. And usually they do a pretty good job of, taking the key elements. You can always edit it and plug things in and fix it. You want it to be your voice. You want to make sure all the important parts are still there. Sometimes if I think I have the right length or I have what I want in there, I might say, take this, don't change anything, just remove errors, and ChatGPT will do that for you. Use ChatGPT as a tool, just don't let it write things for you. So my 30-second version is more like this. In 2001, I was a busy homeschool mom, but after my daughter's vaccine injury sent me searching for answers, a whole new world opened up for us. I desperately needed help with her strange symptoms, but it's literally because of her and discovering the power of essential oils that the health of our whole family was transformed. God used that, what felt tragic at the time, to create a legacy for our children and grandchildren. There's my 30-second version. So keep in mind this structure of writing your story can be used in lots of different categories. So just like I told you, there's different seasons that I've been in. My story had different seasons, whether it was when my kids were little or whether it was when I was dealing with focusing more on emotions or when I was focusing more on adrenal fatigue or gut health or whatever. Depending on what that person needs, that's where I start. Okay. So if I'm having a conversation in the grocery store with a woman who's going through menopause and complaining about hot flashes or whatever, I'm not going to start with toddlers and babies, right? I'm going to start in that section of my story. And so I will have a similar story crafted out and organized that talks about my adrenal fatigue or my menopause journey, which includes adrenal fatigue, by the way, perimenopause. So you're going to have different segments of your story that you're going to want to polish, but start with your overall reason for joining Young Living. Start with the big picture, and then you can go in and have your different categories. The important part is that you are focused on serving other people, that you're focused on sharing your heart, sharing your story out loud, not being afraid to share that. Because remember this, and this is something I always teach my team. If you are afraid to share your story because you're afraid of what they think, you're afraid, oh, they may think I'm salesy, or they may think that I'm pushy, or they may think, oh, brother, here she goes talking about natural health again, whatever. If you're afraid of what they think of you, then you love your own self-image more than you love your friend. If you know that they need what you have and you're just too worried about what they think of you or how you're going to sound, you are in love with your own perception more than you are caring and loving your friend. So keep that in mind, because when you change the perception of the whole situation, it can bring a lot of peace, and then you come to an understanding that you really are serving people, and that's what it's all about. So if you need some help working through and crafting your own story and just a little hand holding, be sure and talk to your nearest leader or reach out to me, and I can make sure that you're in the right situation. And if I need to help you myself, I will. We're here for each other. We're a team of teams. So.